We're back, and today we're going to be doing number 27, number 26, and number 25 of our winner rankings for the Amazing Race.
Exactly. So who's our first team?
Brooke and Scott. They won season 29, Strangers Edition, and Two Legs.
Okay, so they come in at number 27 on our list of winners. And Brooke and Scott are just one of those teams that are pretty dysfunctional.
Yeah, they were very dysfunctional. Brooke complained a lot.
And they had a hard time communicating, it seems.
Yeah.
Did not have good communication skills between them.
Yeah. Scott was great. We love Scott. He was really funny.
Yeah, Scott was hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, Scott would be like, Brooke would be going on and on about something, and then Scott would do these great little looks to the camera. Sometimes he'd make little
side eyes.
comments, definitely some side eye going on. And so it's just really fun watching him.
Yeah.
But as a team, they were a bit of a train wreck together.
Yeah, and Scott definitely did carry the team.
He did.
So.
He was definitely the one who I think had the most strength and the most, sort of kept his wits about him the most during the race. And Brooke just didn't really seem to handle a lot of it very well.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think Scott should get a lot of the credit for that win.
But they did win the Strangers Edition, so I mean, anybody who wins that I'm going to be impressed by.
Right, and you do have to give them credit for that.
Yeah.
They were one of the teams who didn't know each other at all, as none of the teams did for this particular season. And not only did they end up beating a bunch of other stranger teams, they also beat some good teams like Team Fun, which was one of our favorite teams of that season.
Yeah.
And it was fun to watch them, but ultimately Scott and Brooke finished ahead of them.
Yeah, and there was not a dominant team during that season, probably because they were all strangers. So anybody really could have won that season, and it just happened to be Brooke and Scott.
Yeah, it was one of those seasons where one team would win 2 legs, another team would win 2 legs, another team would win 2 legs. So it was really divided out throughout the season.
Yeah.
And that's one of those seasons where more often than not you're going to have a surprise winner, and I think we had that in this season.
Yeah, so moving on to number 26, we have Kelsey and Joey. They won season 27 and 1 leg.
Who and who? No, sorry. Kelsey and Joey, man, this is an interesting team, right? So they win 1 leg, the final leg. Didn't win anything else before that. There are a couple of news reporters. They're in a relationship. What else can you tell us about the race, though? Before that?
Well, they beat some awesome teams like Tiffany and Krista. I love Tiffany and Krista. They were the best.
They were sort of one of our favorites that season for sure.
And they also beat Justin and Diana, Logan and Chris, and other annoying teams from that season. So it didn't have the best cast that season, Yeah,
at least from what the edit showed, this was not one of our favorite seasons as far as the cast.
Yeah.
And again, it's the Stranger season, so that may have played a role in it. This is not the Stranger season, my apologies.
Nope.
This was season 27, correct?
Yeah.
But it was a weird season in another sense, in that Justin and Diana dominated so many of the legs.
Yeah.
And we were not fans of them. So that made it kind of a hard season to watch. The green hat.
Yeah.
Kind of, super fan, maybe to the extreme, in terms of him talking about breaking records and all that. The edit was mostly about Justin and Diana. So as far as Joey and Kelsey, the edit didn't really tell us anything about them.
Yeah.
And so it's just a very weird season overall.
It did have one of the least rootable Final Threes ever because,
for sure,
you have Kelsey and Joey who, according to the edit, of course, for all of these, were not very memorable and they didn't give any idea of personality. And then you have Justin and Diana who they were frustrating, like we just talked about. And then you have Logan and Chris, who they fought a lot, and they weren't the nicest people ever from what the edit showed.
Yeah, it's just hard to root for them just because they fought a lot, and just yet another dysfunctional team that almost ended up winning the race. And but as far as the main story of the season was someone had to beat Justin and Diana at the end, and it just happened to be Kelsey and Joey. So we give them credit for that. We give them a lot of credit for that.
So, and on to number 25, Eric and Danielle.
Oh boy.
They won season 11 All-Stars and one leg. They both came from season 9, but Eric came with Jeremy on season 9 and Danielle came with Danny on season 9.
Right, and so they were the only team in All-Stars that wasn't actually a real team in an earlier season. So in that sense, they're kind of a fake team. And it's All-Stars, and so they're the winner of All-Stars, and yet we rank them number 25 in terms of the ranking of winners. So this might be kind of a controversial choice that people might disagree with, and so we'd love to hear about that. But let's talk about Eric and Diana, Eric and Danielle. Man, this is not my day here. Okay, let's talk about Eric and Danielle. What did you think about them as a team in season 11?
Yeah, so from what the edit showed, they did not have very good communication at all. They fought a lot. Like he said, they were a fake couple because they broke up before the race started, actually.
At least that's what we've been told. That's what we've heard.
So they went on dating, but were actually exes. And then the edit showed that they were not very likable.
Yeah, and it all seemed like this was sort of TER's effort to try to have their own Robin Amber. They desperately wanted a showmance, and they really tried to force Eric and Danielle into that, even though they weren't really a couple.
Yeah. They got yielded by the queens, Dustin and Candace, and the kings, Oswald and Danny, but they always overcame it somehow and got very mad, especially Eric got really mad.
Yeah, so it was kind of a mixed bag. On the one hand, we give them credit for overcoming those yields, but on the other hand, they handled it really poorly too most of the time, and just really got very vindictive about it. So again, it's kind of one of a mixed sort of verdict there.
Yeah. So winning legs wise, it was a very split season. The teams that won the most legs were Dustin and Candace, Oswald and Danny, Charlotte and Myrna, and Robin Amber, and it kind of shows something how Robin Amber went out 4th and they won some of the most legs.
Right. So again, as you had 4 dominant teams, and Eric and Danielle were not one of them.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of disappointing when you're having an all-star season and you're wanting to see the best of the best. Also, it was pretty disappointing for fans of the show, I think, where you didn't have a final 3 of Danny and Oswald and Charlotte and Myrna and Dustin and Candace, because they are 3 real teams who are, I think, fan favorites for many. And we came so close to having that amazing final 3.
One on a limb.
Right, so Eric and Danielle got gifted an on a limb, and so they end up not being eliminated and end up getting into the final, which really, I think, sullied it quite a bit.
Yeah, but thankfully Dustin and Candace and Charlotte and Myrna both did get into the final leg, but did not really have a chance because the final leg was very tailored to Eric's strengths, and from what Charlotte and Myrna and Dustin and Candace had both said, they got locked in rooms and couldn't leave.
Right, so some real weirdness about the final challenge. And we've seen this in a couple of seasons where it seems like the show really wants a certain team to win, and here they wanted their quote-unquote showmance to win.
Yeah.
And so you have weird stuff like making Charlotte have to climb huge, gigantic rocks as part of one of the final challenges, and then having the end challenge where they have to figure out, they have to answer questions about each other as a team, and somehow Eric and Danielle, who really didn't seem to know that much and didn't communicate that much, knew more about each other than these really solid teams that had great relationships.
And don't
for
forget
a long
about
time.
the kayaking.
And then the kayaking as well, which also was definitely geared toward a stronger valuing strength more than anything else.
Yeah. But as we said, they beat some amazing teams because it was an all-star season, and Eric was really good. I will give him that. He was a really good racer, and he carried both teams he was on. And some of those amazing teams were, I think I listed most of them before, but Dustin and Candace, Oswald and Danny, Charla and Myrna, McKenna and Joyce, and Rob and Amber.
So even though they're not ranked really highly, we do definitely give credit to Eric for being a good racer in both of his seasons and really carrying his partner in both cases to the runner-up spot in his first season, and then actually winning All-Stars this season. But they're still a fake team.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Comment what you thought about these rankings down below and see if you can predict who we are going to put next, or if you wanted one of these teams to be ranked number 1, say that.
Or try to predict how many mistakes I'll make in the next broadcast.
Yeah. Anyway, bye guys. See you next week.
Bye.
Hey y'all, we're back, and today we are going to be reviewing number 27, number 26, and number 25 of our winner.
Yep. Oh.
Okay.
Okay. Cut.